Okay, we're on to the exciting part of the build then. So all what's left is the fuselage, which is literally the main part of the plane. So there's quite a lot to it. It's a little bit different to building the other parts. You need to prep some bits before you can start assembly. So if you look at the first page on your manual, I think it's page 18, they show you a list of components which you need to get out, and you notice that there's be like, just for an example, there'd be F22 and F23. What they want you to do is basically glue the two parts together, to show you, and let those set. And what it does, it makes it thicker, reinforces it, so when you come to build it, it's all ready to slot in. There's a couple of things to watch out for. Just for an example, this piece here, which is F22 and F23, there's a note to say that you have to mirror the part. So what that means is you're making a left and a right. So you don't want the parts to be identical, because you'll end up with two rights or two lefts. So basically, lay them on the table and just make sure when you've put the bits on it, literally they mirror each other. Yeah, so I'm just going to show you on a couple of little bits some techniques I'm going to do to join the two bits together. So I'm going to use like a PVA wood glue for this, because it's quite a large surface area to cover, and generally when like plywood's made, it's a similar kind of glue they use to make the ply. So in theory we're kind of keeping all the same strength. You will need, I warn you now, for the fuselage you're going to need a really long workbench. I think the fuselage is about 2.5 meters long. So again, it comes with a building jig, but the building jig's in 3 pieces. And what you do, you tape them together, and then you can start assembling the fuselage on it. But just for the first stage, we're going to get the parts prepared. So to make this job easier, what I find works well, is get a pot, put some pour in your wood glue, get the bit that you're going to attach, just double check which surface is going to make contact with it, then just get some glue on the paintbrush and just brush it on. This is probably the quickest way to do it, and to get a nice even spread of glue as well. Being that it's wood glue, if you get any glue where you shouldn't have, it shouldn't really be much of a problem. You can just use like a bit of rag just to wipe it out, or in my case I just use my finger then. So basically we're putting F22 on F23. What you can do as well, rather than just push it down flat, if you slide it backwards and forwards, it kind of almost causes like a suction and gets it to sit down very nice. So it's really important that you get these bits matched up perfectly. So yeah, that's one bit done. I'll just hold that up to the camera so you can see how I've just stuck it on the top. So I'm going to mirror this one now. I can already tell what part this is. We are actually making the sides of the fuselage where the canards attach. So there's a little hole in this bit of wood, which basically a ball race bearing goes in, which the canards pivot on. So Tom's been quite clever. There's 2 different size holes, one slightly bigger than the other, and that basically allows the bearing to sit in flush. So I'm just going to do exactly the same method here. So I'm just squeezing the wood backwards and forwards, and it kind of will pull in really tight to itself. Doing that helps spread the glue out. Again, I'm just double checking everything lines up perfectly. I'll just show you quickly. I don't know, can you see in that hole how the one hole's bigger than the other? If you can imagine like a skateboard wheel bearing, it's that sort of bearing that will locate in there. So we've got to make sure there's no glue in there, otherwise it's going to stop the bearing going in. So what I do, just get a bit of rag, just put it in the hole, give it a good twist. You've got a nice clean hole now for the bearing to go in. I'm going to do the same with the other side. So I'm actually using Gorilla Wood glue because it dries quickly. It's also really strong. That's the other piece done. Okay, this is a section on skinning the cover for the turbine or electric EDF, whichever option you're going for. So I haven't done many videos on skinning the fuselage. That's because a lot of the techniques you would have done with the wings and so on would be the same. But I just thought I'd point something out with this cover. So you've got two catches that go in here. What you want to do is attach one skin first. I didn't have to use a ruler with this. The bolts are curved very nicely, which I thought, as you can take the cover off and you can see the bottom, that's probably going to be better. So I didn't use a ruler. But what I did do, I used a very little bit of epoxy. I'll just show you. So once that cover is stuck on, I've just bonded half of that in with epoxy, because when you put the other sheet on, you won't actually be able to get the catches in. So very important that you do that, and make sure you don't get any epoxy in the mechanism. What I might do when I've finished is just put a couple of drops of oil on the catches just so they move nice and freely. They are moving now, I just kept checking them while the glue was drying. Okay, now I can skin the second half. Okay, we're going to glue the next bit together now. So we're going to glue F8 and F9. It's worthwhile just really sort of paying attention to the pictures, because sometimes the picture will give away quite a lot if you're not sure how things go. So again, I always offer everything up before I glue it, just to check that everything lines up. So I can see that's the way that's supposed to go. So again, I'm going to get my paintbrush. I'm basically just putting a thin coat of PVA around the edges. Once you stuck it together, you can always, any sort of excess glue that comes out, you can always clean off. It's not the end of the world. It's better to have more glue than not enough. So nearly there. It's little things like this which take a bit of time, but once you've done all the prep, it should go together quite quickly, like the wing and the rudder. So I'm happy that I've got a good coverage of glue on that. Now you can see it's all shiny. Then what I'm doing, I'm just offering it over the top. Again, rather than just plonk it down, I'm kind of squidging it, pushing down and squidging, so it kind of spreads the glue out, and it also does kind of sucks the two bits together. It's hard to explain, but when you do it, you know what I mean. Like, even though I haven't got like a clamp or anything on it, the two bits naturally want to stay put. So I'm just using a bit of rag now just to clean out any excess glue from any of the joints, which would maybe stop some of the bits going together. So if you like looking at that bit, see there's some glue in that bit there, not a problem. Bit of rag, just run it through the gap. Yeah, once you've got all the excess glue out, we then weight it down with something. That bit, so you can see it's doubled up. So the writing is always facing up when you double up this part here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave that on a flat surface, and I'm going to find something heavy to put on there, like a can of soup, or a couple of cans of soup, or some aerosol cans or something, and then we'll do the same with the other parts. Okay, the main interior deck on the jet is four pieces that you join together. So you've got two really long bits here. I'm doing the same technique. I'm literally just getting PVA glue on a paintbrush, and I'm just painting it onto one of the bits. You have to work relatively quick. It depends how quick your glue goes off, but I mean, it's quite cold in the workshop today. So you want to cover the whole of one surface. It gets a little bit fiddly with all the gaps. That's where paintbrush makes life a lot easier. Which ones? Okay, so I'm ready to sandwich that together now. So I'm just checking all the gaps line up. What I'm going to do, there's a little bit of glue sort of gone around the inside. It's going to be hard to get a rag in there, so I'm going to see if I can use like a bit of off-cut wood just to run round and just tidy it up a little bit. I'm just getting like a bit of wood. I'm just running it around the holes. Anywhere there's like excess glue. Okay, that's the main bit of the deck done. There's one last bit to go on. These bits here, which are F65. Again, they just sit on the top like that. I'm just double checking everything looks right. Right, again, give it a little push and a squidge, and it should attach itself quite nicely. Okay, I'm going to get some objects to put on there to weight it down, and then we'll just leave it to dry. Okay, okay, this is the fun part of the build now. We're going to be building this fuselage. It looks like I've already jumped ahead and done it, but what I've done, I've read the instructions and I've literally dry fitted everything. So where we've glued some of the bits together, or well, we've glued all the bits for the fuselage, the bits that you have to join to basically get them to the right size. Previously done that just to make it easier when you do the build. You don't have to keep waiting for glue to dry. It's actually on the first page of the instructions on the fuselage. They say to glue all the bits together. So there's a couple of things worth doing. So the reason I've done a quick dry fit, it's just to see how everything interlocks. Also, I've used the opportunity where we've joined two bits of wood together, or three bits of wood together, just making sure all the holes line up nicely and everything slots together. If it's very slightly out, you won't be able to get the pieces in. So what you want to do is just run like a very fine file in some of the holes if it feels like it's too tight. If you have got, it's better to have a slightly looser fit than a tight fit and damage the wood, because the glue will always fill the gap. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dismantle this, and then I'm just going to show you putting it together dry, so that you guys can then do the same, because there's a certain order you've got to do this for it to work. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to start the fuselage. First thing you want to do is get your building jig. You want HFA, HFB. HFA is literally the front end of the fuselage, B is the middle, C is the end. So initially I'm only using 2 of these jigs at the moment, just because it's a very long fuselage. My bench isn't that long. So the first stage we need to do is check that all our wood's all dried nicely and everything lines up. If anything doesn't quite line up, just run like a file through the joint. So there's a couple of bits I had to do. See that gap there where you've got 3 laminates of wood there that we glued together. I've just had to run a file through that, just so the bits slot in nicely. This is my advice, not Tom's. You've got these little triangular bits here, and you notice in the picture on one of the second stages of the build that you glue these onto here. I want to glue them on first. The reason being is because they're quite a tight fit, and I'm going to use epoxy to put these on. So I'm going to put these onto this bit first. There's a special way these go in. So if you look very closely, you can see the number 26. The other number you can't see because you've glued it to the 26 and made up of 2 bits. But if you notice in the hole, one hole's bigger than the other. So basically you want the biggest hole facing outwards and the 26 facing inwards. So the 2 26s face each other. So just again, do a quick dry fit. So they go in like that. So what I'm going to do, because these are actually what attach the canards on the front, I'm actually going to use epoxy on those just so it makes it really strong. And then once the epoxy is dried, we can assemble the rest. So what I will show you now is how some of these bits you have to assemble beforehand. So you're probably thinking, how does that go into that? If you put these on the building jig, you're going to struggle. So what I do, literally offer it through the fuselage first, or through the former, and then just rotate it. So there's 3 of these to do before you put it on the building jig. I'll show you another one. Just take your time with this, don't use any force. If something's tight, just sort of clean it up with a bit of sandpaper. I'll do one more to show you. So this is where I had an issue. It's where it was 3 bits of wood. It was a bit tight, so I've previously cleaned that up. So what I would be inclined to do now, once you've got these bits on like this, while you've still got a gap underneath, I'd turn it upside down, get your glue in there. Again, I'm going to use Superfatic, push them together tight, and then put it on the building jig. So to make sure that they go in the right holes in the building jig, you want to start off with your F1 former. The writing always faces forwards, or it does so far on the build. If there's any change on that, I will let you know. So we've got F1, F2's going on. You're not quite going to see it on the camera angle yet, but as I start going further back with it, you will. In actual fact, let's angle the camera down. That's better. Got F3. You see you've got, it's F3 and it's LHS, that stands for left-hand side. So again, make sure that writing's forwards and the left-hand side's on there. F4. So once these formers are lined in, you know exactly where to put the jig for the other part of the fuselage, and you should be left with this. Then you can literally glue these on. So these formers F8 and F4, I'm going to use epoxy on those as well, just because they are like at the front and the end of the big platform here. Again, just to give it a bit more strength and rigidity. I think this is where a lot of the forces are going to be on this at the moment that I can see. So okay, now I've shown you the order it goes in, we've just got to glue it. We've just glued the first bit of the start of the fuselage, so this is on page 19, and you should be pretty much left with how the photograph is. Just double check that all the laser etched lettering's always facing forwards, and it's marked like the left hand side. Make sure that's correct. Just double check it's all nicely sort of sat in the jig, everything's firm, and then we're ready to do the next bit. So I have found something wrong in the instructions which will catch you out. Nothing too bad, but one of the wooden parts you need, it's labelled as F75, and that doesn't actually exist. It's basically what you want. Instead of F75, it's F57. Just got the numbers back to front, so if you can't find F75, just remember that's why it's actually F57. So what we're going to do now is start attaching the I don't know the correct terminology, but like basically the long bits of wood to form the shape of the nose of the fuselage. Again, just do a quick dry fit, just make sure you're happy where everything goes. So we get all those in, and then we run glue in afterwards. So we start off then with F41, which goes across the nose. The more bits you get on, the more it sort of starts to sort of get rigid. So that was the first bit in. So that's straightened up all the formers now. So next is F59. So these are actually the long strips that you've glued together. Again, we're just doing a dry fit for now. It all kind of lines up. So we've just put in F59. Just going to do F59 on the other side. It's quite easy when you offer these up that you've got it the wrong way round. You soon find out, because there's a locating tag which goes in F7, and you notice that that's the wrong way round. So I don't know if you can see that. It's all coming together now. So this is the bit which was labelled wrong. So I'm actually using F57, which I'm confident is the correct part. I did do a previous test fit just to confirm that the instructions were wrong. Again, we're not putting any glue on any of this. We're going to run the glue in afterwards. And that's because I'm using superphatic glue. It will penetrate into the joints. Perfect, look at that. That's looking really, really good. I haven't located F1 former in yet. I'm going to do that last, only because I know it probably keep popping out all the time. So I know I keep saying it, but I'm just blown away how good these kits all go together. That is looking pretty cool. So there you go. Well, what I'm going to do now I'm happy they're all in, I'm going to start running some of the superphatic glue into the joints, just so they're all held. Any bits that I might need to hold closer, I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape just to pull the two halves together. It's mainly on Former 7, just because it's the end one. There's nothing kind of forcing it together, so I'll just run put a little bit of masking tape on there. Okay, all this section went together okay, apart from one part. F20, which is like a big horseshoe bit, this is actually the recess for the canopy. There's a slot where it locates onto the front bit here, which is F41, where it locates to F20. The actual laser cut hole is very slightly in the wrong position, so what I just used was a scalpel, and I just extended the slot slightly so it fits in. That's why it's really important to do some dry fits before you glue all the parts in. Okay, we're now working on page 20. You should have like front half of the fuselage pretty much done. All the top, I'm going to call these stringers, I don't know if that's the correct name, but that's what I'm going to call it. So they're all in. We're going to start putting in like the lower half stringers now, where there's part number 52, 60, 47, 44, 55, and then there's 51 left hand side and right hand side. So I'm going to assume you have to pay close attention that these bits go in correctly. Again, dry fit everything, just get yourself familiar where all the bits go. So we're going to slot them all in dry and then run glue in the joints afterwards. If I have any issues while doing this part, I'll do a separate little video on that. Okay, let's do it. Okay guys, moving on with the fuselage. So we've got all the front end assembled, which is up to this point here. Now we're going to assemble the back piece, which is on the bottom of page 20. Is that part there? So there's a couple of bits. I've done a dry fit, like I always recommend doing. Something to pay attention on really is this former here. So that's F12. This is one very early on at the build. You had to join the two together, and it'd be quite easy to put this the wrong way round. If you don't put this in the correct way, the wing tubes won't line up. So something which is a little bit, throws you a bit. Most of the formers, the numbers face forwards. Just as an example, that's what I mean. But on this former, you notice the numbers on the back. And I thought, that might not be right. So what I've done, I've assembled it dry, and you can see like all the holes line up nicely. So there's actually a bit later on in the build, you've got this this section here. You can see there's the holes for the wing tubes. So what I've done, just to make sure that I have actually put it the right way, I did like a dry fit with this, and it confirms that I have put that former in the right way. So I'm going to carry on the build. I'm going to get all that glued in, and that should be the right way to do it. Something I would recommend actually, when you do this bit here, I would build all this former up first before you put it in the jig. All these bits are separate. So glue that all up while it's off the building jig, and then you can just put that on as one piece. Okay, something that I've been doing which makes life a lot easier, I'll show you. You probably notice I've got little tick marks in the boxes. So for each picture, I get out the parts I need, and when I've got them, I tick it off and I put them in a pile, and it makes it so much easier when you're doing the build. Okay, we're on page 21 of the manual, and we're just assembling the rear section of the fuselage. So we got up to this point here, which is former, I'm going to say former 13. Then we build backwards, but there's a long section you put on which looks like an airfoil. In the manual they show you put all the formers on the jig, and then put the long airfoil section in, which is F27. What I found works a lot better is get this located into the formers first, the two formers here that you've already glued, which will line up with your wing tubes. Get those in, get them into the rough place, and then all the other formers all the way back to the far end, they just slot them in, make sure it's located in the jig, do the little push test, make sure they're not springy, that it's actually sat flush, and then you can start dribbling some glue into the joints to get it all done. Something I have done which is a bit different, which make life easier, you've got these two blocks here which are 24. These are going to be the mounts for your turbine or EDF if you're going electric. These actually locate between formers, sorry, the numbers are covered up, 13 and 14. I'm actually going to use epoxy. I'm going to put these in after, once all the formers are dry, just because it makes it a little bit easier when you drop in the formers in and out to get this long piece in, because that is a little bit fiddly, but it makes life so much easier if you just get it literally in the first two formers first, which I'll show you again. It's the ones by the wing tubes. Get them slotted in there. I've used clamps just to, so it should be sandwiched close together, and put some glue in between where the wood makes contact, just to give it a really strong structure. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to let that glue set. As you can see, I've got all the formers on. I've started doing some dry fitting on some of the bits on the next stage, just to make sure the formers do all line up nicely. And yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so we're working off page 21. I've just explained about putting in the long former, which is F27. Now we've done the very first picture on the manual, which is this top one, page 21. We're going to work on the second picture. So what I've done, I've got all the bits out I need. I tick them off just to make sure I've got all the bits. And then I just do a little dry fit again, make sure I'm happy with that, and then we can literally just start slotting all the bits in. On the dry fit I've done, everything's self-explanatory, you can't really go wrong. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stick all the other parts in. If there's anything that I do find a little bit tricky or that you need to know, I'll add it on to the end of this. Okay, now we're on to page 22. We're just going to be doing the last bit on the tail, so you should have an open recess like that. And what this is the elevators that we're building, and also you can see 35 is where the servo tray will be. So I've done a dry fit, and to be honest with you, it doesn't really want to sort of stay together. Gravity wants to make the bits drop out. So I found the easiest way to do this is you want to pre-assemble these bits first. So you've got 36, 38 and 35. You've got your left and your right, assemble those, just make sure it all goes together nice and square, and I think once those are set, that's going to make it a lot less fiddly when you come to attaching it to the fuselage. So I'm going to glue those, and then we'll offer it up. Okay, pre-gluing these bits here, the 90-degree angles, definitely seem to work. When you come to attaching all of this to the rear of the fuselage, I found using super glue worked, because gravity makes the bits want to sort of drop down. Also, you can see I've got some masking tape just to give a little bit of a temporary hold just while the glue sets. Fuselage is pretty much all built now, apart from we got some parts to go on the bottom of the fuselage, but I'm not going to take it off the jig until I'm happy all the glue's set. So the glue I'm using, it takes about 15 minutes, but I'm just going to give it a few hours really, just go and have some dinner, and time I come back I can take it off the jig. But there is one more job we can do on the top, and that's making the access hatch, which is here for the turbine. So there's no building jigs or anything for that, so we're actually going to assemble it on the aircraft, on the fuselage. So I'm going to show you a little trick just to help. I'm going to put masking tape along both these long edges here, possibly along the front edge and the back edge. The reason why, I'm going to build the hatch actually on the fuselage. So, and I'm going to use tape to hold everything in the right place, and that way the hatch should be a perfect fit. So okay, let's get started. I've got wide masking tape, but thin masking tape probably would be better. It's just what I've got to hand. I'll show you in a minute. I'll lift the camera up. Okay, I'll just show you what I've done. So if you look in the top of the hatch there, I've put masking tape. The reason for that is I don't actually want to, when I put the glue on, I don't want to glue it to the frame, because otherwise it's going to be good fun trying to get it off without damaging it. So what I'm going to do now that's on there, I'm going to follow the manual, and I'm just going to assemble the parts together. There's not many bits to it. How many are there? There's about 6 bits of the framework. So I'm just going to start slotting it together now, and just to temporarily hold things, I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape to hold everything in the right place till the glue sets. Okay, I'll just show you what I've done now. So parts 53, I've actually used masking tape to just attach that in line with the fuselage. I don't know, you might be able to see a bit clearer there. So this is the original part of the fuselage, and this is now going to be the lower half of the hatch. Excuse the dirty fingers, but it's got glue on there. So now I can start putting the other bits in. So the centre one is rib 49. I'm going to do it with the lettering facing forwards. I'm doing it one-handed, but just to show you. But yeah, basically you can then slot that in like so. Do the same with the others, put the top beam in, job done. Okay, just pan out so you can see where I'm going. So we're just doing the top hatch. I've got it all attached now to something I noticed, which a mistake I made, which I don't want you guys to. So the bottom parts of the hatch, part number 53, you notice on one side you can't see any laser engraving. That's the correct way on the left hand side. On the right hand side, where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. You want it so you can actually read the writings. That's on the right hand side. The reason being, you can actually put it actually fits both ways, but you notice where the ends go in, 50 and 48, they don't quite line up properly, and that's because that bit wasn't in correctly. So just double check that you've got the writing up on one side, and on the other side it's facing down. So yeah, that's literally all good. Obviously just check all your gaps and that are nice. All looks good. So we're going to let it set, and then we'll move on to the bottom. Okay guys, we're now on page 23. We've lifted the fuselage off the jig, and we've got a couple of parts just to attach on the bottom. They're quite long bits, so you've got three long sections here. You've got F61 and F46. There is another bit actually. It's not actually in the instruction manuals. Whether or not it's a mistake, I don't know. But there's 2 more bits to go in as well. These parts are F56. They actually go on the front edge of the fuselage. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pan the camera around and show you where those go. Okay, so you've got a part here, F56. You'll probably notice you've got spare grooves in the fuselage. you've got the narrow cutouts and you've got a thick double one. That basically slots into the front edge here. You can see where the grooves are. So you've got 2 of those to go in. Like that. I'm just roughly positioning it so you can see where it goes. And on the bottom side, you've got F46. That goes right in the middle. Always do a dry fit. Like I can see I've offered that the wrong way round because it doesn't line up the grooves. So the correct way round, it all lines up with the formers. And then the last bit on the underside is putting in F61. Again, just to like offer it up for a dry fit. Again, offered that up wrong. And that's it. Okay guys, we are going to be making the canopy now. Very easy. You've got the main part of the base, which is F62, and the top half F63. You notice there's round holes there for the magnets. What I've done, I've put masking tape there, so we're doing it exactly how we did the hatch for the turbine. That's going to stop it gluing itself to the wood. Going to put that roughly in the right location, slot that in, and what we're looking for is no sort of gap at the top there. What I will do, I'm going to put some glue on it, and I'm going to just use a little bit of masking tape just to hold this in place till the glue sets. As you see, like you've got sort of gaps in the wood. What I'm going to do is basically fill it up with once the glue's dried, I'm just going to put a nice fillet of glue in there just to give it a little bit of extra strength. The magnets, you have to, before you glue the magnets in, just offer them up, make sure that the magnets want to pull to each other, not actually push. So yeah, just take your time making sure you fit the right magnets in. The magnets will just push in with a little bit of glue around the edge just to stop them coming out. Okay, if you're coming to the end of your build and you're thinking I've still got some bits left over, I'm just going to show you where they go because I don't think they're in the manual. So you've got F32, these little square blocks. They basically go over there to reinforce where the captive nuts go in that hold the wings on. So literally position it so the holes line up nicely and just glue them on. So there's 4 of those, F32. Okay, so we're about to start sheeting the fuselage. So what I like to do, because obviously there's a lot of sanding to be done. Well, I say a lot of sanding, that's I'm exaggerating a bit really. You see, like you've got little bits like that on your framework where it's just come out the where it's been laser cut. I just clean those bits up with a bit of sandpaper. I don't go mad. Any sort of raised joints and that, just go over. I'll show you like an example. So basically I've already prepared the front to put the former FA in. So all I've done, where there's been some little kind of high spots, just with a sanding block, just go over it, don't go mad. Try and keep the original shape. Something really important, actually, this is probably the most important bit to stop you getting caught out, is whenever you sheet something, just bear in mind that the model's at the right stage to sheet, and I'll show you what I mean. So on the wing roots here, you've got the captive nuts which bolt the wings in. Make sure you put the nuts in before you sheet it, because otherwise you won't be able to. So there's 2 on each side, and also these little blocks that go line up with the hinge holes. That's really important. I'll show you what I mean. So at some stage we'll be putting this sheet on. Let's put it in the right place. You can see once that's on, you can't access any of it. So that's why it's really important just to double check that you have done all the right bits. I can show you a tip for putting in these captive nuts. They're really easy to put in, they only take seconds to do. Obviously where the fuselage is loose, it's quite awkward to do. So what I found was the quickest way is I get a block of wood, I cut it to the right height so that it literally fits underneath there to add a support. And then what I can do is with like a punch and a hammer, I position it over the top and I just tap them into the wood. As you can see, I've got some glue around the edge. Make sure you don't get glue into the thread, because you'll have fun trying to get your bolts in otherwise. And that's it. With the sheeting, it's going to be the same as what we did with all the other bits, the canards and the rudder and the wings. The only difference is there's some complex curves here, so you're going to be wanting to use this ruler. Take your time. Don't rush this bit. Don't try and get all the sheets done in one go. I would literally just follow the manual, put a couple of sheets on, let it dry, even come back the next day if need be. This bit is the bit that you don't want to rush. The airframe's gone together so quickly. This is the bit where it will save you more time in the long run. If you can get the sheeting really nice, there won't be much preparation before you can do your final finish. Okay, I am starting off with the nose. I will be putting, where is it? Okay, with the nose, I've already pre-ruled it. I don't know if you can see all the grooves. So the funny thing is, when you put the ruler on it, you can see it naturally wants to curve the other way. That's completely normal, but what it means is when I start gluing it down, it will actually bend the other way. Again, I'm going to be using masking tape on this. Always start off on a straight edge. I'll give you an example. So on this bit here, where you're going to have two halves, you don't want it completely covering one of them. You want it so it's like half covering the spar. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, so literally when you put it on, it's literally half covered. Yeah, and that's it really. Again, I'm using PVA, a mixture of masking tape. I will actually use super glue. If there's any tight corners which are hard to get the wood to stay down, I wouldn't think twice about using a little bit of super glue just to hold it into the right place, just to make your life easier. Sometimes when you tape things or clamp it, when you come back, when the glue's dried, you find out that it's moved or it's slowly lifted away. So yeah, don't be afraid to use some super glue on this. Okay, well, good luck. Okay, I'm just going to stop you on the sheeting at this process. So we've got a lot of the top sheets on, and the structure, the airframe's getting more rigid. We're at a point where we can still access bits in the fuselage. Once it's sheeted, it's going to make some of the jobs a lot harder. So what I'm going to do is get the carbon rod and the bearings installed before I sheet the side, and it's probably really good time to do this. So I'm going to give you some pointers on what to do. So when you get the carbon rod, you notice it's got a gloss finish. In the hardware pack, you've got 4 ball race bearings, and you notice that the bearings won't want to go over the shaft because the lacquer is stopping it. What you want to do is get some wet and dry. I just took my time. I had I think it's 320 grade wet and dry, some soapy water, and I literally just took it down to a matte finish. I got it to a point that the bearings just slide on the tube quite easy. That's what you want. If you don't do that, what'll happen, you won't be able to get the carbon rod in, and you might end up pushing the bearings out even though you've glued it and damaging it. So the next thing I did is I did a dry fit on the bearings in all 4 holes, and then I made sure that the carbon rod actually went through with the bearings, just like that. Once I was happy that the dry fit's perfect, I'm at the stage now where I can literally mix up a little bit of epoxy. This is where you have to be quite careful. You don't want to get epoxy in the bearing. So what I'm going to do, just to try and eliminate some of it, I'm just going to put like a couple of little drops around the aperture on the wood rather than on the bearing itself. And then very carefully, I'm going to put the bearings in. And then once all the bearings are in and the epoxy's still still soft, I'm going to put the carbon rod in. Then I'm going to leave it to set. Once it's set, take the rod out, just make sure all your bearings turn freely, that you haven't glued them up. And that's the first bit. Once you've got the bearings in and you're happy your carbon rod's there, you can then carry on with the sheeting. I am actually going to be doing some of the servo installation for the canards, just for the same reason. When all the sheeting's in there, you'll be able to do it, but it's just going to be fiddly, so we will do that. Something I will point out, actually, we might as well get the canards all over and done with in this one little quick video. When you cut this to length, what you want to do is get your rod, put it into your canard until you can see it pass through both the screw holes. And the measurement should be 90 millimeters from the edge of the, well, from there to there. 90 millimeters is what you want protruding out both sides of the aircraft, or the fuselage. That's where you want to that's the length you want to cut the rod down. I don't know the overall length, or what I know is you need 90 millimeters either side protruding. Just double check it with your canards that it is 90 mil, but I did measure it. When you come to installing this, you notice there's a couple of plastic push rods to go on. There's an image showing which way they go on. So what you can do is thread the rod through. Can't do it now. When you get to the first stage, slide your plastic linkage on, push it all the way through, get your other linkage on, and then what you want to do is line it up by eye. I mean, the other good thing is, because you haven't got the sheeting on the side, you can actually check that they align perfectly. And then all what I'm going to do is use a paint pen, and I'm going to put a couple of dots where the screw holes need to be, and also I'm going to mark the exact alignment for each one. So eventually, when we come to putting them on, I can have the holes pre-drilled. Also, while these air ducts are off, it makes it a lot easier to get the screws on and secure them. So time I'm sort of ready for paint, this carbon rod will actually be in the aircraft. I just have to make sure that I mask it up nicely, just so no paint goes in the bearings. And yeah, hopefully that'll help. There'll be some still images and things you can use as a reference anyway. All right, thanks. Okay, just a handy tip. You probably noticed before you put this sheet on, which is really nicely laser cut, that should go on really easy. But you notice there's some flex on here, so I'll show you on this side. You see that moves? So chances are when you glue that panel on, that might not make good contact with the skin, which won't be particularly great. So what I've done, I don't know if you can see, I've actually super glued a bit of wood on the bottom to make that rigid. So once I've got the top half sheeted, when we come to do the bottom, what I can do, I can just carefully cut that bulk. I've just used balsa wood because it's soft. I can carefully just remove the balsa wood from the bottom. And yeah, that's going to make it so much easier to skin. You're actually going to get good contact with this is your elevator. That's going to actually glue quite well to the skin. You can see that I've put the blocks in. You've got a little hole there which will be for the control horn. That goes in at the very last, just with some epoxy. Okay, well I hope that tip helps. Hi guys. No jet on the desk, why? So we've just finished sheeting all the top half, and you notice in the manual now you are at a point where you're going to be doing the bottom half. So all the time we've worked on the top, the jet's had the little square tags that keeps it all nice, flat and level. Now all the top sheeting's on there, it should have quite a solid, rigid structure. So what I've done is I've made actually a couple of trellises to hold it on upside down, because obviously it keep moving around and you damage the sheeting that you've already put on. So what I would recommend doing, I mean, you can actually get like proper made harness, like jigs, which you might already have. in my case I haven't, but I thought also it'd be cool to make some which are actually perfect fit for the jet, so it keeps it nice and steady while I work on it. So really simple, nothing fancy. You can tell by that it's something I just knocked up in a few minutes. What I've done, I've just got a bit of cardboard. I've made a template of the tail section. I've given it like a slightly cut it slightly bigger to allow for the foam, and so it's not a tight fit and squeezing it. So I've done one for the back and one for the front, but I've also done it so when I put the fuselage over, we're not, even though the rudder's all complete, we're not putting the rudder on yet. We're going to get all the bottom sheeted. I would recommend trellises. Is trellis the right word? But I recommend basically something to support the model. So I'm basically going to put my jet on there now, and we can start sheeting the bottom. There you go, guys. I've got it all laid out on the bottom now, so it's a really nice height for me to work on. We can start sheeting the bottom. So what can I tell you about the bottom? So do you remember on when you did like the canards, the rudder, things like that, you had to cut the tags off and then sand them flat. So you've got all these tags here, exactly the same thing. Get some side cutters or snips, cut them off, give it very light sand. You don't have to go mad, just get it so it's kind of a nice smooth shape, and then we're ready to start sheeting the bottom. We're going to do it in the same order. Something you might not have noticed, I haven't put in the main carbon tubes in here. So in your kit you'll have some, I think it's 18mm diameter tube. I'll just show you. So this is the point where you want to make your tubes. Something that you have to be aware of, you've got a long tube which will go from, on the very first hull, goes all the way across the fuselage, and then the tubes on the back, they're going to be two shorter lengths which go in here, and you got to, they don't go all the way through because obviously it's going to the turbine's going to be in the way. So these ones on the back, they just go a very short distance. You want it so they're just protruding and flush off there. Again, I use epoxy to put these in. Just rough the shiny lacquer off here just so the epoxy gives a stronger bond. Once those bits are in, I'm pretty sure we're at a good point to start getting the sheeting on there. So that's what we do. All right, well, good luck. And if I come across any issues by sheeting it, or any little handy tips that might help you, or any problems that I have, I will share that. If there's no more videos on the sheeting on the bottom, just assume it all went to plan. Okay guys, so just something quickly to add on. With the model upside down, this is the perfect time to install your carbon tubes. You've got one solid one and two short ones. Also, something quite important, now is a really good time, have a good look around all your joints that you've installed, because you've done it the other way up. It gives you a good chance to put some sort of added glue on the bottom, any joints that you feel that might not have enough glue on there. A lot of the ones that cover the skin, the PVA glue also help go in the joints and strengthen them, but things like the bottom of the turbine mount, on the carbon wing tube, on the F12 former, and like particularly around sort of the front landing gear area, it's a really good place to just take this opportunity now just to get a little bit of extra strength in there. Also, really importantly, where the wings bolt on, you've got these little brackets where you've got your captive nut in there. Just double check you have put your captive nuts in there just in case you missed it, because it means if you do make a mistake like that, which is, I mean, it's human nature, you can make mistakes. You can always, at this stage, you can cut a little bit of the sheeting off and just put in the bits you've missed, but hopefully you won't do that, but it's not the end of the world. And one last thing, on the elevators, which are the funny square things on the back, make sure you've got your balsa blocks in there for your hinge blocks to go in, but I'm pretty sure we've already covered that when we built the top. So yeah, okay, well, next time you see me, hopefully we'll have this sheeted and we'll be working on the gear doors. Okay, so we're going to put the carbon tubes into the fuselage before we skin the bottom. So you've got one long piece, have that so the hull goes all the way through. You can see the holes it goes through. So what I do with a bit of sandpaper, I basically flat the lacquer down, so when I use epoxy it gives a better bond. And what I like to do is thread the tube in nearly in the correct position. And what I do, I put glue round between the wood and the tube where it's going to go through, and then I just push it in, which draws the glue in, and then I give the tube a bit of a twist so it smears the glue round. So that's the main tube, that's the big one. There's two smaller tubes to go in. You probably noticed the holes for those. So you'll have two little bits of carbon like this, and you've got these little discs which are FW, I think's the number on there. What you do, while you've got the epoxy, basically you want to epoxy them in the end there, and then the end with the wood in goes towards the centre of the fuselage. That's when you put the wing tube on, the tube doesn't slide into the fuselage, you want it to stop. But yeah, same where they make contact with the wood, you can see I've taken, I've flattened the lacquer down to give it a better bond. So what I'm going to do now is mix up some 2-pack epoxy, bond these in. I'm not going to bother trying to sand the ends or anything. It might be better if you have them very slightly protruded, because this carbon does actually sand quite well. So when you do the final sanding, you can worry about any excess sticking out the end. So yeah, we're going to bond that in. I might have already said it. Well, I've got the fuselage exposed, I'm waiting for glue to dry just to save time. I'm going to run some glue around some of the joints, mainly the important ones, which you like, where the bolts hold the wings on, and bits that I won't be able to get to, or also bits which, when I put the skin on, because you're putting glue on there, that helps reinforce some of the joints as well. So I'm just doing the bits where I'm not going to have any glue after I've skinned it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to epoxy those bits and then run some glue around. Okay, just going to give you a quick tip when it comes to sheeting. Some of the bits you find, like I've been using masking tape to put everything in nice and tight, but sometimes along these long bits here, the panels don't want to sit very nice. You need to kind of be able to put them together, but sometimes it's impossible to actually do that. A technique I found that's really simple to use, because I'm literally using PVA glue, which takes a long time to set, but I find you get stronger joints with that. So I'm using scrap bits of balsa, and what I do, you can just about see it in the picture here. So what I do, I'll push the panel together, I'll hold a scrap bit of balsa over the joint, and then I put a couple of drops of super glue in there, and it holds itself to the original panel, keeps it nice and tight. And then once all your sheeting's dried, really you can literally just get a scalpel, cut it off, and you're going to be sanding the whole thing anyway.
Bottom skin sheets
so
off,
just to sand bits
like
of soft thin balsa off, they come off really easy.
If you haven't installed your
and it's kept all your
undercarriage
panels
or
in a nice line
done
anyway,
your
so
gear doors, because you need
when you
to
come to
get
sheet.
access to put your pins in, and also to access the bolts to bolt your main gear in. These last two sheets of bottom balsa will be the very last two bits you put on there jet after it's all built, before you start your covering process, or the sanding and covering.